Well, welcome back. We have Stuart Spencer with us today from Advanced Ear Care. Nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you, Ken.
As always.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so we got a few things we're going to talk about today, and one of them is we were just talking about just a minute ago before we came on. Obviously, you test for hearing, but people who maybe their hearing's okay or not all that bad, but they complain about different noise and things like that, and I know a lot of people that in general can hear pretty well.
Right.
In general, I'm saying.
Right.
But what's really happening is sometimes they're not picking up the person right across from them. They're hearing the ambient noise is overtaking.
That's
Am
right.
I right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's really where we start to pick people up, is they always say, gosh, Stuart, I hear you just fine. We could talk all day, right? In an interview in the office. Or they say, if I'm one-on-one with somebody face to face, I never have a problem. But, I go to that restaurant and I can't hear anybody really clearly.
Right.
I hear them and I know they're talking to me, but I just don't understand what they're saying. So, and it doesn't have to even be a lot of noise in a real loud restaurant. It can just be as simple as the TV being turned on,
right,
and not being able to really focus on a spouse, that's talking from in back of them, or maybe preparing dinner, behind them or something of that sort. So, we've developed this really special hearing tests where we test people in noise. So we can see exactly what their speech understanding capability is while they're in a noisy environment.
Ah, okay.
And then, to take it further, what we do is we go ahead and we if they elect to, be fit with hearing aids, when we program the hearing aids, we program them while they're listening to noise and they're listening to speech at the same time. So we can play the noise in back of them or in front of them and the speech in back of them and in front of them. So we change that around so they'll know exactly how they're going to do when they're in a noisy situation, and really be able to know how to change their hearing aids if they need to in those noisy environments to maximize their speech understanding.
And there's a lot of situations that occurs.
Oh my gosh.
The most common one we talk about a lot is you go out to a restaurant. And even if it's not I was going to say a quiet restaurant. Most restaurants are not quiet anymore.
Not anymore.
And so it makes it hard, even for younger people, to have a conversation with someone and focus in on what they're saying. It becomes much harder as you age for anyone.
That's right. And here, my goodness, there are so many different clubs, right? So all these people are gathering for all these different reasons, and just those social kind of environments really cause a lot of problems with just understanding speech and noise. If there's just maybe 2 or 3 conversations going on, it really changes their ability to understand that speech clearly. Then, the result of that is people kind of pull back, right?
Right.
They don't want to say anything because they're kind of embarrassed that they're going to get it wrong, or they're going to say something that somebody else already said. So it kind of starts to isolate them, and some of these people start to not go to those groups, which is really sad.
Yeah.
When we can correct that problem, they can be right in there doing what they want to be doing all the time.
Exactly. And you can do testing even for people who maybe already have hearing aids of whatever brand and figure out, are these tuned to how you want them?
We do it all the time. People come in and they've gotten hearing aids, sometimes even out of state, but sometimes locally, and they're just not quite hearing right. And we do a reprogramming on them. They're like, oh my gosh, this is a total difference. So, the hearing systems today are very sophisticated. But, you've got to know what you're doing with all that technology to get it all lined up right for somebody's individual needs as well.
And some of them, I imagine a lot of them, have the apps, both iPhone and Android apps, so therefore people can adjust things as they want, or maybe have certain settings.
Right. Well, now there are so many accessories, that are automatic, where we hook up a box to their TV. So when they turn their TV on, they just hear it directly in their hearing aids, which really causes a lot of peace in the family.
Yeah, exactly.
So, whoever's watching with them can have it at a volume they like it. They hear it at a volume they're really comfortable with, so they can hear it clearly and comfortably. The person that's watching can hear it clearly. It's just a lot more satisfactory environment.
It is something that I know people who have those kinds of devices and how much it helps them. It's incredible.
Oh my goodness, yeah, they just say it's just a whole new world. And we even have little remote controls if people are into using that. Some of the people here say, oh, I'm kind of afraid of the technology, and that whole word is kind of frightening to them. And the nice thing about these type of systems is that the technology is so sophisticated, they don't have to do very much. And that's really what is neat, because these manufacturers are figuring this stuff out. and really getting the algorithms down in this digital technology, where a lot of people just put hearing aids on, they wear them, and they hear better all day long.
Exactly. Now, other technology, actually, it's much older technology, but it still works, are the hearing loops and T-coils.
You know, they're just really popular now. You know, it's a really old technology, you know, but it still works really solid. You know, all the clubhouses now, you know, have the loop system in them. So if they go into that environment, there's a setting on the hearing aid they can change it to with a remote, like we're talking about, or right with a button on a hearing aid. And so that'll pick up the induction from the wire running around the clubhouses, and it takes the audio right off the person on stage and puts it right in their ears. So the real concept there is they don't have to field the sound, it's just shot right at them.
Right.
So they pick it up right in their ears, and it's just so much clearer with a direct audio input like that. And it's become quite popular. It's really great.
Yeah, and again, it's very basic technology, right?
That's right, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about the center that you're in over there, the Willow Tree. Has things changed? Or are they? Last time you were on, they were looking into updating the center, beginning remodeling. Of course, the coffee place is almost ready.
Yep,
to open
coffee,
up.
bean, and tea leaf. So
Yes.
that'll go in soon. You know, they've got that. Looks like they're just going to kind of do some stuff inside of that. They took down the fences, so
Yeah.
looks a little better. You know, all centers go through a phase, right? You know, this is
Yeah.
one of the oldest centers that there is in the area, and so they're going to come through, do a whole facelift. They told us there's a new grocer going in January, and they won't tell us who.
Yes.
Because I think they were down to 2 of them, and it was kind of going back and forth on who it was going to be, so they didn't disclose that. But right at the beginning of the year, we're going to have a new grocer in there and do a whole facelift, and they're going to make the place pretty again. So it'll be nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course, you guys have been there.
35 years.
Yeah, back when it was pretty, right?
That's right.
Yes. All right. Advanced Ear Care, 949-830-5330, advancedearcare.com. And you can see how even if you have existing hearing aids, but they're not doing what you want, give Stuart and his team a call over there, because they'll be glad to have you come in and they can evaluate it and maybe reprogram it and see if the hearing aids that you currently have are fitting your needs. And certainly if you feel like you need hearing aids, they can obviously help you there. Hearing tests and, of course, ambient noise tests, they got it all.
That's
Good to
right.
see you.
Hey, thanks so much.
Always a
Ken.
pleasure.
Have a great day.
Take care. All right, we'll be right back.